Welcome to Your Healthy Kitchen from YRMC.
Welcome to Your Healthy Kitchen. I'm your host, Rita Carey Rubin. I'm here today with some very special guests, Stephen and Cindy Scott, owners of Terroir Seeds and Underwood Gardens, located in Chino Valley and online at underwoodgardens.com. Stephen and Cindy both have so much knowledge for everything from creating healthy, fertile soil and growing food from seed to building community through backyard gardens. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
From what I understand, the name of your company, Terroir Seeds, is important in a number of ways. So could you tell us what terroir means and what your company does?
Yes, we do heirloom and open pollinated seeds, and terroir is a French term that means the literal translation is soil, but it's the essence of something, the place in which something's grown. So the flavors and the uniqueness of growing something from your own garden, per se.
Mm-hmm. And that's part of why our motto is from the soil to the seed to the food you eat, because we feel that everything is interrelated and interconnected. Healthy soil, healthy seed gives you the best food and the best plants.
Well, I see you brought some fresh herbs from your own garden. So let's talk about growing your own food and why is that important?
Well, healthy food is also, contributes to a healthy body. And so growing herbs is one of the easiest ways to get into gardening. And we brought with us today some simple things that are easy to grow. For example, dill, which smells wonderful, can be used in a lot of different dishes.
Delicious.
From eggs to dips, all sorts of different things.
And these are growing in our garden. We actually harvested these this morning.
So a lot of
Lovely.
these are perennial here in Prescott, so that's a nice benefit as well. They'll come back year after year. This here is some French tarragon. This is a very mild herb, can be used in a lot of different dishes as well.
And
Smells
that plant's probably about 3 years old.
3 years old.
Yeah, it just dies back in the winter and then it comes back. It's one of the first plants to come back in the spring.
It smells a little bit like licorice.
And then parsley is a great herb. You can use it in a lot of different dishes, anywhere from Thai, Mexican food, a lot of different variants on it. And it's great. It adds a little zest to just about anything.
Does that also come back year after year?
This actually overwintered. We planted this last spring and it dies back in the winter and then it comes back, and you can see from this stalk here, it's just getting ready to actually flower and go to seed. So, and then one of the things I also mentioned about the dill is this is a multi-purpose herb. You can use the seed as well. Dill seed is very popular in cooking. So a lot of these herbs you can use them green, and the spice that comes from it is usually the seed. So.
And once they go to seed, can you still use the leaves?
Yes, on some of them you can. Some things, the flavor changes over time when it goes to seed. Cilantro, for example, when it starts to bolt, it gets a little bitter. But a lot of things you can still keep harvesting them. You can clip your parsley back, and it'll keep growing more green leaves. You don't have to let it go to flower. And then another thing that's popular is green onions, really simple to grow. And these are old variety, heirloom variety, and you can use green onions in a lot of different dishes.
We also have rosemary. And this particular rosemary is about 8 years old. It will partially die back, go dormant, and then come back in the spring. And you can see the new growth in the tips, in the green, and some of the where it kind of died back a little bit in the darker. Over time, the pungency will mellow a little bit. So some folks like that. Some folks like the younger rosemary that's a lot more pungent. So you've got a choice on how that works.
You can smell it from over there, actually. It's quite pungent. You mentioned heirloom seeds. What is an heirloom seed?
Heirloom is just a term that means something old, something that's been passed down from generation to generation. So heirloom is a variety of seed that's been passed down from a long time ago. It's been around a long time, and it's been kept around a long time because it's something that does well and has great flavor, which is one of the best reasons people grow heirlooms, is for the flavor.
Well, tell me about the soil.
Soil is very important, and a lot of folks that move here, the very first thing that they realize is it's very different than wherever else they move, from California or the Midwest or the East Coast. So you have to adapt and learn to our growing conditions. But if you spend some time to learn to improve the soil, give it some organic amendments, you'll find that you can grow some amazing food here. And one of the big things that we've seen is healthy soil gives better plants, better pest and disease resistance, but then better flavors, better production. So growing a little bit of your own food, whether it's herbs or a few vegetables, you're going to notice a huge flavor difference between what you can get in the store or even the farmer's market from soil that you've carefully tended. Within a season or two, you're going to start seeing some real amazing flavors come through.
And hence the name of your company. I know you do a lot with teaching people how to build good soil.
Yes, yes.
Well, tell me, is it difficult to grow things from seed?
Well,
Kind of
it
depends
depends
on
who you ask, but
Uh-huh.
no, the simplest thing to start with is herbs. It's very simple, like our plant here, this mint plant. That one, you actually don't grow mint from seeds. That's
Oh.
from a cutting, actually. Mint grows best from cuttings. But herbs are one of the easiest things to do. You can put it in a pot in your windowsill, simple to grow. And then if you're new to gardening, I would choose things that you can sow directly in your garden, like peas or beans, something that's real simple to start with.
If you were to start from herbs, and you are limited on space, this is a perfect example of the size that you can start with. And very few people have not enough space to give something like that a chance. So you can start as small as this, you can start as small as something as a garden plot the size of the cooktop or the size of this table. It really all depends on what you've got. But it's very easy to start on a very small scale. And the flavors, the aromas just really can make your day.
And are there some herbs that are easier to grow, or are they all pretty simple?
Most of them are pretty simple. The ones that we brought today, the leafy greens, parsley, basil is a real simple one. It's very prolific. You can make great pesto from it, and you can keep harvesting it all summer long. So most of the herbs are very simple to actually start from seed. Cilantro is another one that you can start from seed as well.
Wonderful. Well, I know you brought along a recipe to make olive tapenade, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah, tapenade is sort of like a pesto made with olives.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah,
So,
I think the traditional way is pounded. We're going to use a food processor, but it's worth playing with the mortar and pestle approach because your flavors will be different. It's kind of surprising. What we've got is some olive oil, and we've just got this on a very low heat. We don't want to cook this, we just want to warm it because we're infusing the olive oil we've got lemon zest in there already. And then as we were doing our introduction, you've seen we were playing with some herbs here. So we've got the garlic that's going to give us a real nice flavor in there. And then thyme, the fresh thyme, and then the rosemary that we brought. So we're just going to add those in there and kind of work that in. You don't want to see browning going on. You don't want to see bubbling going on. Again, you're just trying to infuse that olive oil with the aromas and flavors. And we will be adding all of that into the Cuisinart.
and I know you added some extra garlic in there.
I'm a big fan of garlic.
There's a lot of health benefits to
Yes,
garlic.
absolutely.
So
So
the-
we want to let these just simmer, and you don't want the garlic to brown.
Right. And you actually don't even want it to simmer. It's just a very low heat. So while we're waiting on that, and we'll just kind of keep an eye on that, we're going to add the olives, and what we've got is green and Kalamata olives for a little bit of a different flavor. These are already pitted. You want to make sure you do either get them pitted or pit them before you use these.
And you could also chop these by hand.
Yes,
If
if you
you-
wanted, and
if you wanted to,
you're
yeah.
absolutely right. There are rougher, more rustic
Rustic.
tapenades. Right. These are
Capers.
capers. I always forget the name of these. These are capers that are preserved in a brine. We've just pulled them out of the brine. Some folks don't like the briny flavor, and so they'll rinse them. It really depends on how much of a pungency or punch that you would like. An interesting note, if you have nasturtiums, you can pickle the nasturtium pods because the capers are flower buds anyway, and the nasturtium pods do the same sort of thing, but they give you a little bit of a peppery kick. So chefs are beginning to use those instead of importing the capers. Toasted almonds, and the recipe will be available with the measurements. So don't worry about those. And this is coming along very nicely. And then the salt kind of depends on your taste. We're going to start off with a very small pinch of salt because we didn't rinse the capers, but we can taste that and adjust that as we go. The nice thing, this is kind of an all-in-one. So now we're going to just add all of this into the Cuisinart. This is one of those wonderful labor-saving devices.
Yes.
So we'll turn that off. All right. Then we're just going to pulse this to mix it up. Now some folks will stop right here. They like a really kind of a chunky, thicker, and you can go to a very fine paste. It really just depends on what you're looking for as far as consistency.
I see lots of garlic in there. Looks great.
If you don't prefer garlic quite as much as we do, you can always back that off just a little bit, and you won't be quite as vampire-proof.
We were talking earlier how you don't find a lot of recipes using fresh rosemary, and this is a wonderful way to use it in this tapenade.
Yeah, this is, it's not a sweet tapenade, but it's a lot more savory. But I'm thinking that's about where I want it at. So we'll transfer that into the bowl here.
And tapenade is typically served with bread. So we've got some nice whole grain bread here. So usually used as a spread. I've also seen it served with things like roasted chicken or roasted vegetables.
Potatoes? Yeah.
Potatoes?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Wonderful.
And on the color, if you wanted more green, you would just add more of the green olives. If you like the darker look and the flavor of the Kalamata or some of the more cured olives, you would just use some of those to kind of boost that a little bit. But and this is the terrible thing with television is you don't get to smell this.
Ah, I can smell it over here.
That's the
garlic
that's the bad
and the rosemary.
Thing. But you
that
can
looks
just
delicious.
either toast the bread, or you can do it raw. And there you go.
Well, Jan, well, thank you so much for sharing that with us. And any words of wisdom you'd like to leave us with?
Probably just get started growing something in your garden because a little bit of extra pungent flavors just makes any dish come alive, and herbs is a great way to start.
And hopefully you've seen how simple it can be with just a few pretty simple ingredients.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, Cindy and Stephen, for joining us. It was a real pleasure talking and sharing this wonderful recipe with you today. And thank all of you for joining me again in your Healthy Kitchen. Remember, our recipes, information, and links to our seeds can be found at yrmc.org. Just click on Health Connect and the link to your Healthy Kitchen. And until next time, plant something, and we'll see you soon.